I'm sure many of you are watching the scenes from Israeli television as the proceedings of the release of two Israeli prisoners who were kidnapped at the beginning of the Second Lebanon War, Eldad Regev and Ahuda Goldwasser, are being exchanged by Israel at Rosh Hanikra in exchange for both Palestinian prisoner releases and 5 Lebanese prisoners. I think it's important to stop for 1 second and to contemplate a little bit about what's the meaning of this. You know, it's interesting. I'm always asked when I lecture, isn't something wrong about Israel? I mean, you're getting two people for a huge price. You're paying a huge price for their release. I mean, I remind you that one of the prisoners that is being released is a gentleman whose name is Kunta, who, 45 years old, should be serving life imprisonment. Back in 1979, he took an Israeli family hostage in the northern coastal town of Nahariya, shot and killed the father, Danny Haran, and dashed the skull of his 4-year-old daughter, Anat, against a rock with a rifle butt. Danny's wife, Smadar, managed to hide from Kunta in a cruel, going into a space in their apartment with their 2-year-old daughter, Yael. To stop Yael from crying, she put her hand over her daughter's mouth and accidentally suffocated her whilst trying to keep the toddler quiet. A policeman was also killed in the attack. Today, that man's going to walk free and be met with celebrations on the other side. The predicament we have is a predicament which goes back for many years. I mean, even if you take, for example, more recently in 2004, Israel released some 400 prisoners, including Hezbollah's Sheikh Abdel Karim Obid and Mustafa Dirani, in exchange for the remains of 3 Israeli soldiers and a living former army colonel named Enanhan Tenenbaum, who it turns out later was known as a Israeli drug smuggler. The price that we pay here in Israel, I think, is important because it's part of a social contract which is between the government and the people of Israel. We in Israel send our sons and daughters into the army willingly. There's a national conscription. And on the other hand, there seems to be a social contract that the government will return them if they are either captured or killed. What we're seeing today is the price of that social contract. It's a painful price and seems to be a price far, far away from the image of Israel in Entebbe, which went halfway around the world to rescue kidnapped prisoners being held in Uganda. You know, it makes you wonder and it makes you think in the day of, or in the weeks when the Franco-Colombian politician who was held captive for 6 years, Ingrid Betancourt, said she looked at how the army released her with great surprise and said, I think only the Israelis could possibly pull off something like this. Well, today the question is, what's happened with 60 years of independence? Why is Israel unable to release many of its soldiers? And on the day with mixed feelings when we're watching the scenes on the Lebanese border, it's important to remember that Gilad Shalit, the Israeli soldier who has been held, kidnapped for now over 2 years, is still being held by Hamas. The demand for his release is 450 Palestinian prisoners, many of whom have blood on their hand. We know today or we believe that Gilad Shalit is alive, and I want to end this perhaps self-questioning day with 60 years of independence in Israel, when we see those scenes with mixed feelings of, perhaps on the one hand, a bitterness of the price we had to pay, and on the other hand, a mixed feeling that a painful saga in Israeli history has come to an end. I want to leave you with the voice of Gilad Shalit. This was a message that was released by Hamas 1 year into his capture. And what we ask all of you to do is to write to your congressmen, write to your politicians, put pressure on your governments to pressure the Hamas government to release Gilad Shalit and bring him back home.